Alone, I walk down a short hall and into the first examination room on the right. Examination room B, B for birth control. The room is white, sterile, as an examination room should be. There is a gown laid out for me, but I don't know any better. I think it's a smock. Now, there are all types of gadgets here. I see gloves, steel objects, magazines, jelly. A poster hangs on the ceiling. It is a butterfly. It reminds me of my grandmother's butterfly collection. The butterfly represents the women's genitalia, and I think about my grandmother's collection. Dead butterflies under thick plastic. The moment is timeless, hanging over my head like the butterfly poster. And then she walks in, the doctor. She has the kind of legs that straight men or gay women would die for, long, slinky, and smooth. The legs interrogates me with all sorts of questions.
Are you sexually active? Do you experience frequent yeast infections? When was your last menstruation? I see. Would you happen to have a mint, dear? I had hummus for lunch, you know.
I answer all of her questions. Calm, cool, steady as a jackhammer. Legs, she tells me about birth control. She describes my options the way Mick Jagger sings rock and roll, rough and tempting.
Now remember, dear, not all birth control protects against STDs. Regardless, there are over-the-counter options, you know, rubbers, sponges, and such. Of course, there is also the birth control pill. Now, indeed, some of these pills will actually clean up that acne you're sporting, dear. But there's also, of course, the IUD, that's quite popular, and the diaphragm. Indeed, the diaphragm is a low-cost and highly effective device. I suggest it highly.
I agree, and so the diaphragm becomes my choice of armor. Legs puts on rubber gloves and tells me to lie down on the examination table. I assume the position for my first female exam. You know the kind. Take your clothes off and put your feet into the cold steel hands that open you up like the Ballard locks. The medieval steel thong looks like a duck's beak. Leg inserts the beak into my vagina and spreads me as wide as possible. I had no idea how flexible I could be.
Now press down like you're going to have a bowel movement, dear, but of course don't.
Legs is no quack. Everything is fine, I'm told, and that's a relief. I'm measured for the correct diaphragm size, and by the look of it, I get the baby model. I'm shown how to insert the diaphragm, then Legs leave me alone to practice, throwing me away like a used piece of Kleenex. I'm clear on my assignment. You get the diaphragm in, and you take the diaphragm out. Simple enough. But this assignment is filled with gels and rubber. I've never been very good with the slippery or the stretchy. Pantyhose still eludes me. First, I put the spermicide into the cup of the diaphragm, and then around the edges. Now I fold the diaphragm into the shape of a taco. The gesture. This makes me hungry. After it's folded, I ease it into my vagina, and I hope I do not have to go fishing. No fear of losing it here. I can't seem to get it in. And I wonder to myself, do boys think of this on their first time out? Their first time in, out, but then I digress. The diaphragm flies across the floor and lands on dust bunnies. I go through a tube of spermicide. Will this farce never end? I decide to give it one more try. If not for me, well then, for Dr. Legs. I remember that fateful summer in Little League. That last inning, the Reds were ahead by 1 run, and it was up to me to bring in the winning runs. The bases are loaded, my hands slide around that bat with a tight grip, and then the swing! And the diaphragm takes flight. It has attached itself to the ceiling, and the game is lost. Legs comes in with a broom, and she pries it off the ceiling.
No worries, dearie. Happens all the time, to the best of us, you know.
Legs send me home. I am obviously not in her league. On the way out, she looks at me the way the babe might look at a fan, and she tells me this.
If at first you don't succeed, try again. If you still can't get the hang of it, well, you know, there's always the pill, dear.
Yes, there's always that. There's always the pill. Thank you, Margaret Sanger.